This is how it happened. This is how the Batman died. And how the Good Morning guys talked about how the Batman died. Good morning, my brothers and sisters, on this, our special Spoilercast, GMGVGBC, otherwise known as the Good Morning Guys Video Game Book Club, discussion of April's selection, which, of course, appropriately, we're recording in May.
Yeah, I mean, that's right. That's right. That's okay.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
But we're going to be talking about Batman Arkham Knight, which I believe this game came out in 2015, I want to say.
Sure did.
On last gen consoles, so PS4, Xbox One, all the NPC, all that fun stuff. So we're going to be talking quite a bit about that tonight for the next hour. Of course, we're first and foremost going to introduce everybody on our wonderful panel for the evening, or after evening, or night, or in morning, whenever you're listening to this. So first off, I am your, I guess, designated main host for the evening, Mr. Marc Boucher. And alongside me tonight, my fellow GMG co-host and the executioner of fake news and spoilers and justice and vengeance.
There it is.
There it is. Patrick Novacell, how are
'Cause
you?
I am vengeance.
I'm vengeance. And of course, after that is our good friend and fellow member of the GMG stream team, good old Kris the Rock Kerwin. How are you, sir?
Very good. Thank you. Amazing intro, by the way.
Thank you. That's my best Commissioner Gordon impression. And of course, last but not least, good friend of the podcast, good friend of us all, the old Justice in Greece himself, Mr. Tim Paullin.
I am bacon.
How's it going, man?
Good. Thank you for having me.
Glad you could be on with us, of course. And so the way we're going to kind of start things off here is we're going to kind of do a non-spoiler, basically our thoughts on the game. I think for most of us, this is not the first time we've played this game. This is kind of a repeat play. Just our overall thoughts and impressions of the game and pros and cons and things like that. We'll go ahead and give it our ratings, if we will, and then we'll jump over the spoiler wall and dive deep into the ins and outs of the game, pros and cons, the details, the nitty gritty, if you will. And so first, I am going to hand it off to Mr. Kris Kerwin. Since you are the most recent person to finish the game, I believe you finished it yesterday.
Yeah, yesterday morning. Okay, so I'll be quick. I really mainlined the game. I was a bit late. I took more time on Horizon, for good reasons, and I really straight lined the whole thing. I have to say, it was my first playthrough. Unfortunately,
okay.
I never had gotten to it before. I even beat Arkham City right before. So, I was told it was important to know certain things that happened in that game. So I'm really glad I did.
Yeah.
And I heard some really negative comments about the tank combat. I have to say, I really loved it. Like,
okay.
for sure, mainlining it probably helps. But I really like that. The Batman combat itself, like the melee stuff, was amazing. Like, so many other games were inspired by that game, so that was really fun. Although it does spike towards the end. I played the whole thing on normal, and especially some of the sneaking missions when there's a lot of guys, and as soon as they find you, they all go on you. That was getting harder, and I had a lot of repeats. But I was so close to the end that I didn't want to put it back to easy. So I kept on and succeeded finally. Exactly. Story-wise, without getting into spoilers, I think that's an amazing game. Like, really, really, really good. We'll talk about it after the spoiler wall, but really, really glad with it. And I would say only that it may not be the best game to mainline because it finished a bit short, or like no credits, or no, like it really feels like you need to go on and do a whole lot of other stuff. So
Yeah.
for sure,
We'll talk a bit about that. That's kind of important.
so yeah, but that's like mainlining it didn't, unless I did something wrong, it ended a bit weird. So overall for me, an 8 out of 10.
8 out of 10. It's pretty solid.
Yeah, for sure. Amazing game. I wish I had, all the time in the world to play it when it came out, and put a good like 30-40 hours.
Yeah.
I probably put 15. So, but it was 15 amazing hours for sure.
Sure. Absolutely. Good
powered
start. Mr. Paullin,
Yes, sir.
I'm going to hand it off to you next. What
Oh,
are
no.
your spoiler-free thoughts and impressions of Batman
Spoiler
Arkham Knight?
free. I played this probably the first time in like 2017, and I played it again a couple years ago, and then this time I was like, wow, this is better than I remember.
Yeah.
And I think it moved up maybe to second. We'll get on that, but Arkham City was always second, but I think it might have moved up. And like Kris was saying about the tanks, it got really poor reviews. Oh, too much tank. I love the tanks. I think it's so much fun.
Yeah.
You just got to get a handle on it. And like Kris was saying, if he had more time, when you get the tank built up, then it is so much fun, especially on easy. Put it on easy, Kris.
Mhm.
Suck it up.
I loved the story. Yeah, we'll get into the ending part.
Yep.
But there's so many cast of characters in this. And I'll just give it a quick rating, and I'll give it a 9.
Boom. That's way up there. I like it.
Solid.
Solid indeed. Mr. Novacell,
Yes.
what are your spoiler-free thoughts and opinions?
So spoiler-free, story was absolutely amazing. And Kris, you have to get the secret ending to really have a finality to the story, which we'll get to.
I went ahead and watched it after.
Okay, good.
Okay. All right. Good. Yeah, because you're right. It doesn't really end because you need to go do the secret ending. But like you guys said, I liked the having the Batmobile to drive around. It was a nice addition to the Arkham Knight game and the Arkham series that I've been, all Batman fans want to be able to drive the Batmobile. The only thing that I didn't really like about the Batmobile is I had every single DLC. I bought everything for this game and every single downloadable content I have. And with that, you can have all kinds of Batmobiles. You can have the 89 Batmobile. You can have the Justice League or Batmobile, or the Batman v Superman Batmobile. You have all these other Batmobiles, like including like the Christopher Nolan Batmobile. But you can't use it in the story mode. You have to either do it in the challenge or free roam. And when you do that, you don't have the tank abilities. So that's the only thing I wish that they were able to somehow figure out how to put those missions so you could drive whatever Batmobile you wanted.
I guess they didn't want to take the time to do that, to set up, create the assets for it.
Yeah, that was a missed opportunity. But I liked being able to drive around. I liked the tank missions. However, they were the same tank missions over and over again. And so that was the only downside to that. But like you all said, I loved being able to use the tank of the Batmobile.
Mm-hmm.
The gameplay, I think Kris, you had said that where the melee combat, like you can see the melee combat that is in this game, and look at Spider-Man Miles Morales and Spider-Man Remastered. You can see like, hey, this is awesome. This is the way combat should be in games like this. So that was I loved the combat. All the other side missions that are in this, like I mainlined this, this is like the third time I played this. This is the only time I mainlined it. I've done all the Robin, the Batgirl, all the DLC missions, which is those are awesome, really well done. they're just like the Spider-Man remastered DLC, where it's like, hey, for a couple hours you can play another mission and things like that. So that was really cool. I can't. There's so much in this game that I want to talk about, but for the spoiler free, that's about it. I give this game a 9 out of 10.
Boom. There you go. All right. Doing pretty well across the board. So my thoughts and opinions, I guess, quote unquote, being the resident Batman fan, this was like coming home. And so like I booted up this game and it's like, man, I missed this game. I think I tweeted about it a little bit. I was like, I missed being part of this game. I love being part of the world. I love the fleshed out version of Gotham City and how immense it is. I love, the story in and of itself is fantastic. Rocksteady, they nailed each and every one of these Arkham games in terms of the story and just the depths that they go to. Story beats that like you don't typically get in a typical Batman story. But they had their own story to tell, and they told it very well. With the initially, like I played this like day one when it first came out. Initially, I had some negative thoughts about the Batmobile tank missions and things like that. Mainly because they would like force you to do it, and it was just more. It felt really repetitive to me at first. But this time around, I started actually, investing more in the Batmobile upgrades and things like that. And plus putting it on easy mode kind of helped because like I had played, I can't remember what mode I played on initially, but like I put this way down on easy mode because I'm like, I'm just going to enjoy this. I want to have a fun time with it.
No shame in that.
Yeah. Nope. And so, once I did that, and plus I focused on actually doing some of the upgrades to the Batmobile, which I don't think I did very much of the first time around. It was a lot more fun being able to kind of switch up how you're defeating these different tanks and things like that. There's one mission that I will talk about on the spoiler side of things that frustrated the ever-loving crap out of me, but once I got past it, everything was smooth sailing from there. But otherwise, this is a 9.5 Batarangs out of 10.
Ooh.
I love this game. This has actually taken the place of City. City was my number one of this series, and it has officially taken the number one position. So for my rankings, it would be Night, City, and Asylum.
And no Origins.
Yeah, I guess I would put Origins there. That would be kind of last. But don't get me wrong. Even though Origins may be last, I still enjoyed that game.
Sure.
All of the Arkham games I have absolutely loved. So with that being said, yeah, I think Arkham Knight has taken the number one spot with 9.5 Batarangs out of 10. So I'd say we've given it a very healthy score all around on the non-spoiler side of things. So let us go ahead and hop over that old spoiler wall into Gotham City, into Arkham Knight, and here we go. So if you have not played Arkham Knight, what the heck are you doing with your life? Go ahead and play. Seriously. Put us on pause for a little bit. Go ahead, explore Gotham City, the city of fear, if you will, and go play through the game, and then come on back and listen to us babble on about it and spoil the heck out of it. So, all right, you have been warned. Here we go. So, obviously, this pretty much dovetails off of Arkham City's ending to where, big spoilers, the Joker dies at the end of Arkham City. He is killed after he has injected himself with the Titan toxin injection thing that he, I guess, injected himself with in Arkham Asylum, which started, making his body degrade down and everything, and ended up killing him at the end of the game. Mm-hmm. And so, in such a classy style, like, who would think, like, from the first shot, like, you get the monologue from
Commissioner
Commissioner
Gordon.
Gordon, and then the first thing you see is Joker being put inside this crematory, and your first mission is to light the Joker on fire.
And how many of you just sat there waiting for the cutscene to
Yeah.
continue?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. At least 10 minutes.
Yeah.
10 minutes.
Yeah, I just sat there and because the Frank Sinatra song was over.
Yeah.
I think it's Frank.
Yeah.
And I'm just sitting there. I'm like, I never waited to see if there was like an achievement or a trophy attached to this or not. So I just sat there and I messed around on my computer, kept looking over, like, not gonna do anything. All right.
I think eventually he
Nice.
does. I think the Joker eventually does do something where he does like a jump scare where he opens his eyes or something like that.
Yeah, he did after I lit him on fire.
Yeah. But yeah, what a great way to not only just start things off with a bang, but also just confirm like, yeah, we're going here. The Joker is dead.
Yeah.
He is officially dead.
No, he is not. He is in every single scene
Well, he's
of
in
this
every
game.
single scene, yes, but the Joker in physical form has died. But yes, the guys over at Rocksteady have figured out a way to continue on keeping Mark Hamill in the game, keeping his Joker in. As we know from the previous game, Batman himself was also infected with the Joker toxin in the previous game, and he's one of the several Jokers that Batman has to contain, and it turns out he's actually one of them. So yeah, to start off, story points, you're going into that first scene where you're in the diner, and what a great way to set this up. Where you're the cop, and all of a sudden, you've got to confront this guy who's being unruly, and he ends up gassing you and everything with the scarecrow toxin, and that's when everything goes to crap. The defecation hits the oscillation, if you will. And so that's our setup here is that the Scarecrow has basically threatened to unleash this toxin on the city, and you're able to he's able to get everybody to evacuate. And so what did you guys think about this beginning, about this opening? What are your thoughts on it?
I was like, is this a first person game? Like, I was like, I thought this was third person. Like, did they change this? But it was a scary scene. It was definitely a scary scene.
Yeah.
I was like, ooh, this is dark.
Well made. And having played them back to back, you can really see like that diner scene. I remember thinking, wow, like they really pumped up the graphics are really nice. Like did it come out on PS3 or 4? Arkham Knight.
I want to say it was 4. Yeah, it was 4 in Xbox One. I don't think it hit PS3 at all.
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because it was the Arkham collection. Everything's remastered, but you can definitely see a huge upgrade in graphics. Starting just at that scene, everybody in the restaurant was like really well done and scary, and yeah.
Absolutely.
I actually forgot how that started.
Yeah.
When he came over and said, offer so, and there's a guy back there smoking. I'm like, oh no, I don't want to go back here. Now I remember. This is gonna get wild.
Yeah. And it's interesting to actually just go through that, and just even before you go to the cutscene trigger, like just looking around and just taking in the ambience of the diner, and just paying attention to the different just random NPCs. Like, I just love the detail that goes into that. And then of course, you roll up on this guy, and he injects you with the toxin, and you end up causing chaos and everything, trying to shoot at the guy and everything. And then of course, Gotham City is evacuated, which gives the excuse for Batman to drive around in the Batmobile without hitting too many people. You can pretty much drive around undisturbed, with the exception of some villains, which I love the fact that basically they wrote it into the story that any of the Batmobile's bullets are rubber, and anytime the Batmobile gets close to any sort of bad guy to where you could be running it over, it basically shocks the guys, and pushes them out of the way. It's kind of like with Spider-Man whenever he throws people off of buildings, there's just this random web that appears so that nobody actually dies. So nice touch, Rocksteady. But
how about those big shots that you destroy like those drones with?
Yeah,
like the tank drones. What are those made of?
extra powerful rubber. No, at that point, obviously, he's switching to the good stuff. But he knows that I think they actually built it into the story. That
they're drones.
They're drones. They're unmanned.
Yeah,
so
right.
He's like, okay, we're free to blow these up. And so, you get straight on into the story. You're trying to stop Scarecrow and everything. And I'm trying to recall everything, but basically, this is where you eventually get led up to Ace Chemicals and everything, where you get introduced to the Arkham Knight, and he's this guy who has this vast access to to military grade weapons and drones and armies and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like very much taking on this sort of persona that's kind of like Batman. What were you guys' initial thoughts on the introduction of the Arkham Knight?
His suit was awesome. Like when it was like, hey, this is like a Batman, the yin to the yang. Like this guy is like, who is this guy? Like who is the Arkham Knight? Throughout the entire game, I'm like, who is this? Is this another like drone? Is this a bot, or is this an actual person? Like I didn't know. But I loved the suit, the way they talked, the way he was like, hey, I know every single move that you have. And it was just like, again, yin to the yang. Arkham Knight was an awesome villain in this, and because you have both Scarecrow and the Arkham Knight throughout the entire game. And so I thought the Arkham Knight was a great villain. I think it was an original villain that was written for the game, which was even cooler. It wasn't, so that made the mystery of who the Arkham Knight was even bigger. So I thought that was really cool.
So it's interesting because, and we'll get into it in a little bit, it's like he is an original character, but he's not an original character at the same time.
Right.
But the way that it was presented, I would say it was definitely, especially the Arkham Knight character himself. Yeah, it's definitely original.
Yeah.
But yeah, you get introduced to the Arkham Knight and everything, and how he's essentially working with Scarecrow to take down the Batman. And Scarecrow has this grand plan of basically somehow taking down his legend in some way, shape, or form, and also somehow poisoning the entirety of Gotham City. And you roll into this whole story. It's always good when Batman is coming up against a formidable opponent, someone who's, like you said, Patrick, a yin to yang, like someone who can meet his
every
move, head to head, and that makes it interesting, because then Batman has to adapt. And especially, you find out that Arkham Knight, he's got some real in-depth knowledge of Batman, and you're wondering, how does he know this guy? How does he know Batman so well? And him and Alfred they're like trying to scour, who was part of Arkham City, and who are all these different enemies and stuff like that could possibly be, and he's just not narrowing it down. And so before we go on to the story, more to the story beats, kind of wanted to touch on the voice acting a little bit here. So obviously they bring back some powerhouse actors, Kevin Conroy, Mark Hamill, Love those guys. Those guys, like whenever I read a comic, and whenever I read a Batman comic, anytime the Batman is there, I hear Kevin Conroy's voice.
Yes, the best Batman. He is the best Batman of all Batman of any video game or movie. He is the best Batman.
Absolutely. Yeah, like I just anytime it's Batman, it's Kevin Conroy's voice.
Yeah.
And to bring back him as well as Mark Hamill, who, you know, you can tell over the years that, you know, his voice has changed a little bit. He's gotten older. He's had to kind of adapt his portrayal of the Joker, just because, like, you can tell, like, with his laughs and his high pitched voice and everything. If you compare his voice from Batman the Animated Series to now, you can tell, like, okay, he's been doing this for quite a few years. He's gotten a lot older, so he's kind of had to change it up a little bit. But still, he does a fantastic job with it. Kris? What did you think of the voice acting here?
Well, it's good you mentioned that, because I find the dialogue between the two, and especially Mark Hamill, that we haven't really addressed the fact that he's there. I don't know from what point in the game, but that's pretty early on, that he's going to be like your buddy for the whole game.
Yeah.
And whenever you're waiting, or whenever you die, he's going to say something, and it makes it really, really interesting, and contributes to the development of both characters. I find, and so, like, such a good, like, I don't want to say chemistry, because obviously Batman's really annoyed that this is happening.
Yeah.
But it's awesome to watch, and it makes it really more enjoyable, more intriguing and everything. And I learned so much, because I don't know that much about the Batman lore. So yeah, voice acting was A1, but also just the fact of that there's all those interaction. And I think that other games also learned from that and built on that. The fact that you have some conversation as you're doing something else, instead of just going from point A to point B and being bored. That's a way to tell a story while you're doing other fun things. So really well done.
Trying to find, there he is. So I was trying to find who the actor was who was playing the voice of the Scarecrow.
Yeah.
His name is John Noble, and he's been on a lot of different things. I'm trying to remember. I am in the middle of pulling up his IMDb page, because I'm trying to remember
More fact.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what I know him from. Wow, and this is not working for me. But yeah, so all the voice actors, and it's interesting with Batman. You talked about the whole thing between him and the Joker. Like, for 90% of the game, like, Batman does not even acknowledge Joker's presence. Like, this is mainly just Joker talking to him the whole time, and, like, he doesn't respond for the most part. There are some sequences where he, like, will knock Joker out or something like that when he has, like, a bunch of Jokers on screen and everything. But for the most part, like, he just refuses to acknowledge his presence at all. That's who I know him from. He's Denethor from Lord of the Rings. The guy who was, like, the steward of Gondor, and he takes on it's either Merry or Pippin, I can't remember, as his ward. And there's that whole scene where he's, like, sitting there at the table, and he's, like, eating tomatoes and stuff, and it's all, like, super gross. If you remember that from either, like, it's either between Two Towers or Return of the King. But yeah, he was a bad guy in that movie, and he does a fantastic job with this very twisted psychological character of Jonathan Crane as the Scarecrow, and he just really gets into your head, and they all just do a fantastic job. So, excuse me. So, One thing.
Obviously,
Go ahead.
Troy Baker is
Yeah.
also in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he is the Arkham Knight.
Nolan North is Penguin.
Whoa,
which-
hold on. Troy Baker is the Arkham Knight.
He
I
is.
did not even notice.
He's
He
also
voiced-
Two-Face.
Yeah. And
Wow.
somebody else.
Yeah, he's voiced. Of course, Troy Baker has voiced several characters in this game.
Yeah, there's lots of spoilers here. Jason Todd, Red Hood.
Yep.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, I was scrolling through there tonight before we started. I'm like, what?
They have like a bunch of who's who, like of
Yeah.
voice actors.
Dave Fennoy is Lucius Fox.
Yep.
Dave Fennoy is great. He's so
Yeah.
great.
Several of Patrick, our Apex Legends guys, are voice actors in this game.
Oh,
Nice.
really?
Yeah, Carlos Alazraqui, who is the voice of Octane, he's just put in as a voice, so he's probably some background voices.
Oh, okay.
JB Blanc, who is the voice of wow,
Which one?
Just left my head. Toxic guy,
Caustic?
Caustic. Thank you.
Yeah.
He's the voice of Caustic. He was several different characters in this game.
Nice.
Yeah, a couple of these guys. Just going down the list.
The
but yeah.
who's who of voice actors for this game. I did not even know.
Yeah, like Laura Bailey's in this. Steve
Mhm.
Blum is in this. He was Killer Croc. Yeah, just a bunch of who's who voice actors are in this game. But yeah, they did fantastic job, and I'm sure there's others that we're not mentioning as well. But yeah, absolutely love the voice acting in this game. Coming back to the story. Like, the nice thing was, from being away from this game for so long, there were a bunch of story beats that I completely forgot about this game. And when I got to experience them again, it was like, wait, what? Wait, when did that? And the biggest example is when they supposedly kill off Barbara Gordon.
Oh my gosh. that scene where she's in that like little room and Batman can't get in there, and she has like that, that toxin, and she is gonna kill herself, and then Joker just walks in front of it and
Yeah,
just
you don't
points to his
see it.
head and just like does the mime of shooting himself in the head, and then as he walks past, Barbara's in the wheelchair or whatever, and she's dead, like she had just shot herself in the head. I'm like, the way they did that scene was just perfect.
Oh, it's
Like,
fantastic. The way they
one
do.
of the-
Go
One
ahead.
of the best scenes in the game right there. Like that was earlier on in the game.
Yeah.
But the way I was like, oh, is she gonna kill herself? And then he walked in front and she died. And I was like, when you see when someone dies, quote unquote, off screen, they're not necessarily dead.
Yeah.
So when Joker walked in front, my immediate reaction was, oh, that's not Barbara. That wasn't Barbara. He's just hallucinating. That's that toxin. So I was waiting for the time when they would bring back Barbara. So when like they do the reveal later in the game that she's actually not dead, I was like, okay, finally she's back on. But for those who did not even realize that, like, Barbara's finally back, like, I bet that was a huge reveal for people, and I think that was
for sure.
great way to tell that story.
I was sure she was dead.
Yep, me too, Chris.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remembered at the very end of the game, I'm like, but Tim and Barbara get engaged at the end of this game. So, and I was like, what? And I was like, she must be coming back. But like, that scene is so impactful, the way that they do that. A lot of the times, the way that they introduce Joker as a hallucination in this game, like, I think my favorite scene, or at least one of my favorite scenes, is the one where they're in the movie studio, and Batman and Robin are having to catch all the infected Joker people.
Yeah.
And there's that one, the Johnny, I can't remember his last
Charisma.
name. Johnny Charisma, thank you. And it's that circulating scene where he's on that, like, it's almost like a game show, but it turns out it's Joker singing to Batman while Robin is trying to go around and defuse these bombs. And just the way that they shot that, just from a cinematic perspective, was fantastic. And the way that they just like to use irony for like this like happy sort of jazz type song, and meanwhile all these bombs are in this room ready to blow up Batman and Robin. It's amazing the way that they use comedy and irony with the Joker.
And so a little side note, now that you bring in like Batman and Robin being in on the same, like the way they do like the fight scenes where you have an ally, whether that's Batman or whether that's Robin or whether that is Catwoman or whatever, like the way you can just do dual takedowns and just switch between the characters. Like I'm like this kind of fighting is like fresh. And it feels awesome. And I'm like, man, is this what Gotham Knights is going to be later this year? Like, this is going to be so much fun.
I'm concerned. I'm concerned about Gotham Knights just because it's not Rocksteady. It's WB Montreal. And so...
Hey, don't hate on Montreal.
I'm not hating on Montreal. I'm hating on WB Montreal. Being specific.
But that's a story for another day.
Yeah.
But did WB Montreal do Origins?
They did.
Yeah.
They did. Which, to be fair, I think is the weakest of the franchise, but still good. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. And obviously I'm not going to fully knock it until I actually play it. And I'm definitely going to play Gotham Knights for sure. But
yeah.
But yeah.
Day one.
I was hovering over the pre-order button today.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, that game could get delayed. Don't worry.
Yep. Probably. But we'll see. But yeah. Rocksteady's the way that they have set up the whole combat going into the combat mechanics, the gameplay mechanics. You are the Batman in this game.
Oh my gosh.
It is so seamless the way that you can just go back and forth between enemies and do all these different combo moves, and like you said, Pat, they build on that in introducing the dual takedowns. You can do that, like you said, with Robin and Catwoman, and also with Nightwing, I believe.
Yeah.
And so just the way that they do that is just so seamless. It doesn't take you out of the game at all, and you're right there in the action. And there's all sorts of different types of counter moves that you can do. They've perfected that. And that's why
it was art. Yeah. Like when you're fighting like 10 dudes and you're just going fighting another one, shooting your batarang at another one, or a flashbang at another one, or electrocuting another one, and just like the way it's done is it's dancing, it's art, it's great.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I use the mess out of that electric gun.
Yes.
Stay away.
Yep. Yeah, especially the brutes or whatever they're called. The great big dudes. Like, you just need to wait till the end.
Yeah.
I'll get everyone else out of the way.
See, I was the opposite. I took the big dudes out first.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They just were annoying to me. So I was like, let's get these guys out of my way. And
so how did you do that? Did you throw your cape at them and then just like and just punch them 30 times before they go down?
Yeah.
But you get interrupted sometimes.
You do. You do. But on easy mode, it's not too bad. I'm sure on the higher modes, it's probably, a little bit more challenging to try to pull that off. But on easy mode, they'll leave you alone for a little bit.
New Game Plus is a blast.
Really? No, it's not. New Game Plus. Now, seriously, New Game Plus, they put you into nightmare difficulty, like unbelievable. Like I beat this game and I was like, you know what? I'm going to do New Game Plus. I'm going to have all the things. This is going to be fantastic. And so I played like 30% of the game, 32% of the game, and I got to a point where I couldn't defeat the guys. And I was like, why is this so hard? And I looked at the difficulty because I was like, maybe I'm on normal. I'm going to go down to easy. And it was on nightmare difficulty, and it's grayed out. You can't change it.
Oh my god!
So I looked online, and it was apparently it's a thing. You're like New Game Plus, you were locked into nightmare difficulty. So I was like, well, I guess I'm just because I want to continue to play the game. So I just started up a new game and played that. So Yeah, the difficulty I put straight back down to easy, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is so easy. I was having such a hard time. I didn't know why I was having a hard time.
I put almost 20 hours into nightmare mode and finally gave up and started all over.
Goodness.
Yeah,
I'm like,
I believe it.
I don't even remember where I got to. And the tank missions were easy because you had all the upgrades because I had already put everything into my Batmobile.
Yeah.
But man, the combat, I just get my butt handed to me every time. Like
one
hit, dunk.
The damage.
One gunshot, dunk.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no way on God's green earth that I would attempt nightmare mode.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. So, interesting point. Touching on the Batmobile missions one more time. There was a particular mission where two things were happening to me, and this is the only con. This is what gets the half-point knock for me. These stupid Cobra tanks, where you have to get behind them.
Oh my gosh! Get out of here with those.
Those things are a nightmare and a half to try to get around, and of course they do these stupid random patterns where you have a hard time getting behind them, yeah, it was just a pain in the butt, and plus, my game kept locking up at one of those portions.
No way.
It locked up not once, not twice, but 3 times. Locked up 3 times in the middle of it, and it's one of the major like tons of Cobras. I think it's the one where it's like right before you're going up against the Arkham Knight in his Cobra vehicle. And yeah, man, it kept locking up so bad. Once I got past that
what do you
part,
mean when your console locks up?
it froze.
It froze?
The game literally froze.
Okay.
I had to quit the game and shut it off and start it over again. And I had to do that mission 3 times before I could finally get past it. And then once I was past it, it was fine. Never had an issue again. It's just for some reason that particular spot is just asset heavy. I don't know, but yeah, it just kept locking up. And I'm playing on a Series S, so it's not like it's not like a Series X that's got the super beefy power, but it's got power to it. And this is a 2015 game, so but yeah,
right. So Xbox One game.
But,
yeah.
Random question, Marc.
Yeah.
You had it for free on PS5 as well, right?
I didn't actually have it for free on PS5. I did not. No. I'm unfortunately I'm the guy that unfortunately does not always
I thought it's part of the collection. It wasn't a PS Plus, so you can still have it. I believe.
Oh really? Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe I should have done it on there. I just did it because I knew it was on Game Pass. Now I had originally I think I had the physical copy of Arkham Knight on Xbox One, and I have no idea where that is at this point. And I think I lost things.
Well, you're back.
You're on.
Am I on?
Yeah.
Okay.
You were frozen for.
Okay.
you were frozen for
chugging.
I don't know. Yeah, for just a few seconds, but you're good.
Okay. Cool.
You're back.
Looks like I'm back. All right. So,
Nice.
In any case, fun times.
That mission was a pain, but was not the worst for me. I remember probably redoing it maybe 3 times. It's the one where there's 3 of them, I believe, and you have to kind of hide and go around until they have their back to you.
Yeah.
But one of the melee missions later on was the worst for me, and it's one of the last ones. I think right before you go after Scarecrow, there's about a dozen guys in a clock tower, I think, and there's so many of them, and there's some flying drones. You can only deactivate one of them at a time, and I kept getting caught, and they all come for you, and you die because a lot of them have guns and everything. And after trying like a good 8 times, by accident, I called one guy, or I made some noise. He came after me, and I hid in the grids. I killed him, made some more noise, hit again, and I got them all by just making noise, having them come while I was hiding in the grids and getting behind them one by one, and that's how I cheesed it.
Hey, whatever it
Hey.
takes, man. Whatever it takes.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
You got it done, and that's what matters. But yeah, let me ask you this though: the specifically like the Batmobile missions where you have to drive quickly. Like, there's one that really drives me nuts, and it's that final confrontation with the Arkham Knight in that giant excavator.
I hated that mission.
Yeah, I hate that mission, and it's mainly because like I love the Batmobile, I love driving the Batmobile, but sometimes the handling on that, and it cuts to certain camera angles when you get to certain points in the tunnel and things like that. Man, the handling on that drove me nuts, and then you had to like do things almost perfectly in a certain way to lure the Arkham Knight in that excavator to like the explosives, and you had to do it like 3 or 4 times. How did you guys like the handling of the Batmobile and stuff like that? Because sometimes I had a heck of a time.
Yeah, the handling of the Batmobile was terrible. It was like the driving missions like were absolutely awful.
Yeah.
I one, because it's raining and it's dark and I don't know where the heck I need to turn.
Yeah.
And then when I do turn, it's just like I just run into things and like I accidentally, like my controls, like I would think the left trigger would be like a slow down, and I immediately go into tank mode. I'm like, son of a gun, I don't know these controls. Like it was just yeah. So that's another reason. That was only my fault. Like my brain couldn't, because that's the way I've always played racing games for the past like 45 decades. I've been using left trigger to brake, and when it wasn't brake, I'm like, oh no, what do I do?
Yeah, you have to remap it.
Yeah, I didn't do that. I told myself I'm gonna get this, and I never figured it out.
It's convenient for the tank stuff for sure. So you kind of like it like that too, but I did that the whole game. I didn't get used to it even at the end. And also sometimes you're in tank mode and now it's time to be silent. So you switch mode and want to accelerate, but you do it too quick. So it shoots a big.
Yes. 100%. I did the same thing.
Yeah. And I'm embarrassed to say that it took me the 3rd time to realize that square is power slide.
Oh, yeah.
I never looked at that. And you could just run full throttle, hit the square, and just turn because it slows the car down enough. I never messed with that the first 2 times I played it.
Most times when I had to pivot hard with the
pivot
with the Batmobile, mostly I would just I would go into tank mode real quick. If I had to turn on a dime, I would just use that real quick. Half the time I didn't use the power slide. But it is nice to use on occasion. It especially helps in tank missions when trying to get out of the way of drones that are firing at you and all that kind of stuff. So heading towards the end of things, it takes a certain turn, especially with the movie scene and the movie studio, the scene where he has to lock up Robin. And did you guys at first, like, I think you actually have to, you actually lock yourself up at first because you realize you find out that you're one of the people that's turning into the Joker essentially. And so at first you lock yourself up, but then you realize, no, that's not really what you need to do. And so you can actually go through that scenario like 3 or 4 times. And there's a bunch of different dialogues that Joker has for that I went through. And then essentially you have to throw, Robin into the cell, so you can handle business yourself. But then you start getting these visions of your old Robin, Jason Todd, and the night that he was supposedly murdered, by the Joker. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, this is interesting. We're gonna talk about Jason a little bit because we had Tim, we have Dick in the game. I'm like, oh, we're gonna talk a little about Jason. Okay. And so it goes through these flashbacks of Joker weakening Jason and just tearing him down to the point where he hates Batman and things like that. and then he just ends up just point blank just shooting him and killing him. And I'm like, okay, well, obviously we're visiting this for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
And so this ultimately leads up to the reveal, and you find out that not only does Arkham Knight know Batman, he knows who Batman is.
Right.
And he mentions the name Bruce. And you're like, okay, so it's somebody in his inner circle. And then did you guys start putting 2 and 2 together here with no, not yet?
Nope. I because like you said, Kris, earlier, you're not big on the Batman lore. I'm not big on the Batman lore. I don't know why they're telling me that is this whole Jason thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't realize it was Jason until he finally took the mask off. I'm like, oh, okay, it's Jason Todd. So I was like, that totally makes sense. That's the cool reveal.
Yeah.
I still didn't know who Jason Todd was.
So Jason Todd, Jason Todd is the second Robin. He came after Dick Grayson. He was famously known back in the comics, back in the late 80s, early 90s. They actually put out in the comics a 1-900 number where people could vote if Robin would be killed or would survive after he was kidnapped by the Joker. And
What?
And the guys,
wow,
and
that's a Marc fact.
They voted to kill him. They voted that the Joker would kill him because they hated Jason Todd so much. And so he ends up beating him to death with a crowbar and then blowing up the building that he's in.
Yeah.
And so, but after some time, they introduced the idea of the Lazarus Pit, the whole thing that Ra's or Ra's al Ghul, whichever you want to call him, that he uses. That's how they bring Jason back to life, and he becomes the Red Hood, which is one of Joker's former aliases before he becomes the Joker. And so that's his way of like slighting the Joker by taking one of his former aliases.
Oh, okay.
And is the Red Hood another villain?
He's an anti-hero, basically.
Okay.
Yeah, Red Hood, and they basically introduce him at the very end of the game where he takes off, you notice he takes off that whole like Arkham Knight bat-looking mask part, and then his helmet becomes all red. And then you notice at the very end of the game where he shows up with the sniper rifle, he sprayed the bat signal on there. That's the look of Red Hood.
Okay.
And so in the Under the Red Hood storyline from the comics, that's basically they cut out that whole Arkham Knight part. That doesn't happen. He just becomes Red Hood, and that's how it happens. But in this, they introduce a spin on it where he becomes the Arkham Knight, and it's this whole interesting thing, which it was a nice take on it. But in this particular situation, they made it sound like that Jason didn't actually die. Whereas, in the comics, he definitely died. He definitely did die. And they brought him back with the Lazarus Pit. So it's definitely an interesting take on it, a change for things. So you don't know 100% of what's going on. And then, of course, that brings us to the ending. And what did you guys think of this final ending where, Batman ends up having to essentially give himself up in order to save Gordon and Tim and all that. And
wait, hold on. Gordon double crosses Batman and gives him up. Like, you son of a gun.
Yeah.
I know that you want Barbara, but you're really going to believe and trust that Arkham Knight is just going to hand him over that you've given Batman? Commissioner Gordon's smarter than that.
Yeah.
So it's the whole scene where Arkham Knight is just pushing Barbara off the roof and then pushing him off. Like, Batman's already fallen down because Commissioner Gordon, although he double crossed Barbara, this is where his smarts came, or double crossed Batman. This is where his smarts came in because he knew where he was shooting Batman as Batman falls off the roof. That was really cool. Okay. Even though Gordon was a jerk, but he actually knew what he was doing. Like, that whole dynamic, that was a fantastic cutscene. I don't know how long that cutscene was. It felt like it went on for 10 minutes, and it was beautiful, very well done. It felt like a lot of the game, a lot of the cutscenes are short, and a lot of the dialogue is in game. cinematics. This one was one of the longest cutscenes of the game, and it was really well done. I loved that part. At that point, like he's that like you're leading up to that where you had said he gives himself up, goes to Arkham Asylum. That was, and he was revealed as Bruce Wayne in Arkham Asylum. So it was live broadcast. Everybody knows that he's Bruce Wayne, which is insane. And I think I'm getting ahead of myself here, but I want to continue to talk about that point when he's in his that straight jacket kind of table or whatever it is, like he's all tied up.
Yep.
And then that scene that moment where you become Joker. Yeah. And you're walking around with a shotgun like this, and you're in first person. That was awesome. Did you? It's just
one of my favorite parts of the game. Like your reticle becomes pink and everything's different, and yeah.
You got the Joker mobile too. Like it's so awesome.
I loved that his special attack with his Joker mobile was the Killing Joke, which is totally the name of a comic series.
Yes, very good comic series.
That whole scene was fantastic, where Batman finally acknowledges the Joker, but it does it once and for all, and essentially uses Scarecrow's fear toxin against it, and finally puts his hallucinations to bed, and is able to lock the Joker up. Yeah, I loved flipping things completely and becoming the Joker.
Were you guys scared that, because of the toxin and everything, you thought you were shooting stuff as the Joker, but you would like wake up as you're shooting real people with a real gun as Batman? Like I was really scared that was happening.
Yeah.
On top of it, you hear, I think, I'm blanking. Your butler is telling you stop the madness, stop the carnage and everything. I'm like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
It was really, really intense.
Yeah, but Rocksteady, they did a fantastic job of telling that story in a beautiful way. And then, of course, kind of bringing things home here. So obviously, as Patrick said, Batman, his identity is officially revealed. Everybody knows he's Bruce Wayne, and then of course he's able to turn things on the Scarecrow and stop him and stop things from happening, but his cover's blown at this point.
Yep.
And so that's where the 100%ing comes into play. You have to beat every mission. You have to get all 243 Joker trophies,
which is the worst like gameplay mechanic storyline, whatever it is, that you have to get all 243 to get the true ending.
Yeah,
it is it's the worst. Like this, of all games of all time, this is the worst collectible thing that you have to do, and it's not easy. Like you have to have a guide to do all these. There's no way that you would be able to do this on your own.
Yep. Because
it's all over the map, and you see a question mark. You're like, okay, I got to get there, but to get all that stuff, man, it is too time consuming. I think I was like, you know what, I'm gonna get the second time playing it. A few years ago, I'm like, I'm gonna get them all. I got 20 of them. I was like, never. No, I'm not getting. I'm never doing this.
I got a few here and there just because they were easy grabs. Just because, and it pulls up your XP that way. But yeah, otherwise, like there's absolutely no way.
Yeah,
I'm gonna collect all those.
I got 16. You did better than me.
Hey, I got 20. How about
that? So tell me, if you don't get all of those, you never see credits?
You never see the true ending, which is the Nightfall Protocol ending,
where you have to battle the Riddler in his mechanized suit, which is like it's basically like behind that challenge. That whole end of the story is behind all that challenge, which is so dumb. Like I could probably say like there was maybe less than 1% of the people who played Batman got all 243 Riddler trophies.
Yeah.
Very small percentage, which is dumb.
But
More people have the platinum in Elden Ring than they do in Arkham Knight.
yeah,
I bet.
that's
For sure.
crazy. But yeah, obviously, just to wind things down, Batman does enact the Nightfall Protocol, which
Mhm.
basically is him coming back to Wayne Manor and blowing it the heck up.
Yeah, what's the code word for the Nightfall Protocol?
Martha.
Martha.
Why did you
Why
say
did you
that
say
name?
that?
But yeah, and then obviously it cuts to black. You supposedly believe that Bruce and Alfred have died, and the whole legend of the Batman has died. It turns out that Commissioner Gordon has become the mayor, which that's an
Mhm.
upgrade. Fantastic. And of course, Tim Drake and Barbara Gordon, who you find out is alive at the end of the game, they're about to get engaged. And so that's all exciting. And then there's this sort of this echoing of this familiar family that's walking through this alley, very, very similar to Bruce Wayne's story. And all of a sudden they look up and are like, "Hey, we ain't scared of you no more." These thugs have come after this family, and they see this figure, this like weird looking figure, and they're like, "Hey, we ain't scared of you no more. Batman's dead, if you haven't heard." And then there's this like ominous demon like bat thing that just comes out the screen, and that's it.
Mhm.
And that's the end. They kind of leave it super ambiguous.
You know what that is, though.
Mhm.
That's weaponizing Scarecrow's toxin.
Yeah, that's kind of the way I took it, was that
Yeah.
they've weaponized it in some way to keep the legend going. But
But it is him.
is
Yeah.
Just using
Yeah.
the toxin.
It's Batman.
And
I felt it felt a little open ended to me, like this could be, but you don't know. But
Okay, just like I said earlier, like he didn't die on screen.
yeah, I know.
He's-
I don't think he's dead.
He's not dead.
Yeah, like they did that with the Dark Knight Returns comic series, where he essentially has a heart attack after fighting against Superman, but he basically fakes his own death, and goes underground with being Batman.
Yeah.
It's essentially the same thing. So they kind of pulled from that. So I think you could certainly take it that way, but I feel like they tried to make it a little on the ambiguous side.
Right.
So you really don't know what's going on. But that is the ending of Arkham Knight. I really wish they would make another game after this. I know they're working on the Suicide Squad game now. But I really wish that they would work on another Arkham game, because Rocksteady did such a fantastic job with these games.
I would be
Who's
okay
making-
with them remastering this game.
Yeah.
I mean, like they're just recently someone had modded it with 60 FPS, 4K visuals, ray tracing, all the accoutrements that come with a next gen game.
Yeah.
And if they did that, I would definitely buy this game again. This game is one of the games that is one of the best games of all time. It was on our GMG top 100 list, video games. I can't remember where it ended. I'm going to pull that up before we jump off.
Sure.
But it is one of the best games of all time.
Absolutely. Well, while Patrick is pulling that up, Tim, Kris, any final thoughts on Arkham Knight before we close the book on the Legend of the Batman?
well, who's making the Justice League game?
You mean the Suicide Squad game?
What did I say?
You said Justice League.
Yes, Suicide Squad. Sorry.
Yeah, Rocksteady's making the Suicide.
Rocksteady. Okay. So
Yeah. That is their next project. So it'll be good, but it's not like 100% in the Arkham verse. It's a whole different thing.
it's been like 7 years. So did they make anything in the meantime?
No, they've been pretty much dead silent.
Did they make the VR game?
That's true. They did do Arkham VR.
Oh, that was cool too.
Yeah,
That VR game.
but other than that, for like a legitimate new entry, like we've been waiting a while.
Because it's been a long time. So is it supposed to come out soon?
I think it's next year. Next year is when Suicide Squad comes out.
Yeah. So this just in, our number 5 game of all time for the Good Morning Guys top 100 games is Batman Arkham City.
Wow.
Ooh.
Did Arkham Knight not make it?
Arkham Knight did not make the list.
Wow.
What?
There's some games on here that I chose that were one of my best favorite games of all time that probably could get. This game is 100% better than The Getaway. So if we were to do a new top 100 games list, I'm sure some new games would be on here, and
Absolutely.
this one would definitely be on there.
Absolutely.
I mean, how can a 9.5 game out of you, Marc, not be on this game? How could a 9.0 game out of me not be on this game or on this list?
I think it's just because for the longest time I liked Arkham City better, but yeah, I think this has solidified Arkham Knight being up there for me now. But
yeah,
did any of you guys besides Kris, were you a little jealous that Kris got to play through all 3 of these back to back to back?
Wait. I played Asylum over 10 years ago.
Okay. So you didn't replay it. Okay.
No.
Gotcha.
Okay.
But City and Night back to back.
Yeah.
Right. That was really cool.
It made me want to go back.
That's like watching a kid when they watch Star Wars for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
That's special. That's what I think of it. But with that, guys, any other final thoughts?
Well, just thank you so much for choosing this game on this year's list. It always makes me super excited to see the list and see all the amazing backlog games that I'll get to play. And that was a really good pick. So kudos. I don't remember who picked it, but great call.
I'm pretty sure that was Marc. And we all were like, yes. Yeah. Great to play on the heels of the Batman movie.
Yes.
Absolutely. True.
Absolutely. But with that, we're going to go ahead and close our discussion on Batman Arkham Knight. It has been a fantastic time talking about the Bat. Of course, our next GMGVGBC discussion, I believe, is going to be on Celeste.
Right.
Which you'll just have to keep an eye on the socials for when we get that put out. And we'll also be doing Ratchet and Clank as well throughout the month of May. So we'll probably won't be recording that until like June or July.
Yeah,
we'll see.
For sure. Yeah.
Knowing us. But yeah, you know where to find us as always. You can find us on the socials by searching wherever you can find at the GMG Podcast on Twitter and on Instagram. You can find us on Facebook at the Good Morning Guys Podcast. You can find us wherever you listen to podcasts. Yeah, so we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. And that's the story of how the Batman died. Thank you guys so much for listening. May God bless and guide your lives as you live, as you work, and as you game.